Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Struggle Bus Podcast, Episode 6. This week on the bus, for the Eagles, Jeffrey Lurie. Although Lurie has been one of the better owners in Philly sports, the exposing of inside politics relating to the quarterbacks really didn't sit well with the citizens of Philadelphia. For the Sixers, Ben Simmonds. Overall, Ben has declined as a player since his rookie year. Although I hate to admit it, Dave might be right. Trading Simmonds can soon become a reality. For the Flyers, team injuries. The Philly plague strikes again. Couturier, Myers, and Frost are all out, which deals significant damage to the team. These up and coming games with the Bruins, this team's depth will be tested. Finally, for the Phillies, JT Realmuto. Although the Blue Jays are no longer a threat, a new, more dangerous enemy has emerged: the Atlanta Braves. But regardless of the Phillies for a second, Dave, we have some breaking news. Yes.
Yes, some breaking news about 5 minutes before we've started going here. Per Mike Garofalo, the Eagles are expected to hire the Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni as the new head coach. Of course, this is still just a rumor, I would say, but an advanced rumor. Um, when I first saw this, my initial reaction was, why? And doubting it and questioning why Jeffrey Lurie would go for this.
Mm-hmm.
A guy that I was very interested in seeing is Josh McDaniels.
Yeah.
Like the last week, once I figured out that he's been, in contention, I've kind of wanted Josh McDaniels to be the new quarterback to be the new coach, and then to have Deuce Staley promoted to offensive coordinator.
Uh-huh.
That's what I was kind of humming in on. But now Nick Sirianni apparently looks like he might be our new coach. And while my
Uh-huh.
first impression was bad, just sit back and think about it, right? This is the offensive coordinator from the Colts, right? Their offense this season was actually really good. Really
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
good. They scored a ton of points this season.
Yeah.
Um, they have some weapons, Jonathan Taylor, they've got Hines, both of them in the backfield. T.Y. Hilton's kind of aging outside, but it's not the best personnel wise to work with, but they're still putting up a lot of points.
Uh-huh.
Um, but the thing that really catches my eye here, Frank Reich's the coach there.
Yeah.
How much of this could be a Frank Reich system that he
Yeah.
brought to the Eagles as the offensive coordinator while he was here?
Yeah.
How much of this is to play? We already know it's to play to Carson. We already
Yeah.
know Jeffrey Lurie's looking for a coach that will work with Carson at least for a year.
Mm.
If that's the case, this might actually be a fantastic hire.
Yeah. I had heard the rumors earlier in the week about that, the very less significant rumors, but you said that name, it did strike a memory with me. Yeah, it makes sense. And I at first I was surprised as well. I thought internal hires would have been the way to go, with the exception of Josh McDaniels. But um, it definitely does make sense, and it also falls in line with Lurie's line of thought, in the sense that get somebody out of here who doesn't agree with Carson, or who doesn't um, fit to his style of play, and form the team around. Now, I'm glad that this might be the case, because they're at least making smart moves. But my issue is the whole premise of forming everything around Carson. I still am not a fan. I was very vehemently against it last podcast, but they're doing the best they can to surround him, and for once, it seems like a decent move from upstairs.
Absolutely. If this is the way they're going, and it is, they are going to try and build around Carson, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is the right move. You don't, but that's fine. We've discussed that plenty times before.
uh,
But since this is the way they want to go with it, this might just be the perfect hire for it. You just because Carson succeeded with Frank right here.
uh,
He should have been the MVP that year, or yeah. And now we bring maybe a little bit of that back. We could really, this is the ultimate test right here. If we
yeah,
hire this guy and he brings Frank Reich's system back over, and Carson comes out and still sucks, then get rid of him. Then get rid of him. If he can't succeed under this, we have to get rid of him.
Yeah.
But if I mean, this is putting him in a spot to succeed.
Yeah. It's almost like they're trying to clone the 2017 season. Put the same people that were there, and just try to like almost put him in an environment that'll like spark almost muscle memory to have him go back to 2017. I hope it works. I don't think it's going to work. But I guess that does lead to the question, like, Deuce Staley had a lot of support from the players and the fans, but it doesn't really matter as much. He had a lot of support behind him from the players for head coach, and that does mean a lot. Player chemistry and player relations to the coach definitely means a lot to the position. So the question here is, why? I mean, like we said, it makes sense that. What was his name again? I'm sorry, I've totally forgotten.
Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, it makes sense that Sirianni has that he's taken interest in that. This is the offer was potentially extended, but what was it just the fact that he worked under Frank Wright's system that he didn't get the head coach job?
I mean, maybe. This is my first time hearing about it. I didn't really look into him previously. Deuce did have that support with a lot of players on this team, present and former players, which is why I think you still try and promote him to offensive coordinator. Keep him in the system, keep him building up, because just in case this hire doesn't work out, if we do go on to hire him, if this hire doesn't end up working out, let's keep Deuce Staley around, let's keep him happy, and maybe put him in line to be next in succession.
Yeah. It definitely seems like they're making the right moves right now, at least with this. It definitely, at least off of first glance, they're definitely trying to surround him with people who are going to support him and who are making good administrative choices right now. So that's nice to see. But yeah, so that's about it for the Eagles. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I got.
So moving on to the Sixers, I mentioned in the opening that Ben Simmonds was on the bus for the Sixers. Why?
Well, I called him out last week off script just because I just felt it, and I just kind of had to run with it. He's having the worst season of his career so far. And with a person with that kind of potential, it's really disappointing to see him regress.
Yeah.
His points are down, his steals are down, turnovers up, field goal percentage down. In almost every stat except for rebounds, it's been a negative progression into this year from previous years.
Yeah.
He's becoming more of a burden to this team than the superstar that he should be.
And why do you think that is? What has changed? Because I mean, and also I'll throw this in. He does have chemistry with this team. So is that an A? Okay, so first, why is he progressing this way? But second, what is the chemistry worth keeping him here? Is the chemistry in and of itself, along with his stats that he's putting up right now, does that warrant keeping him?
Well, to answer the first one, why is he kind of progressing this way or regressing this way? I think I touched on this last week too. If you take some of the real superstar players who's been in this league, you look at Jordan, you look at Kobe, you look at LeBron, the amount of work that they put in, it's unrivaled. It's unrivaled. We know that Ben isn't doing this.
Yeah.
We know that he's not. Like, he probably shows up to all the practices and does what he needs to do, but how much extra work is he really putting in?
Yeah.
We don't know that. And quite frankly, I don't think he's putting in extra work or not enough of it.
Mhm.
Maybe he has focused too much on trying to develop a 3-point shot or something. Um, and I mean, heck, I'd rather him completely forget about that and just focus more on taking care of the ball. And when he drives the lane, going up for a shot instead of passing it back out and turning it over or creating a worse shot.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's just, it's a real shame to see him go down this way. And to answer the second one, chemistry. Is it worth keeping him around even though he's having negative effects? It's a tough one to answer. And I think I'm also gonna stand by what I said last week with this too.
Mhm.
Keep him around for the rest of the season for chemistry reasons.
Yeah.
You don't want to, we're the best team in the league right now. Don't really want to screw things up. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, even though his steals are down, he's still a good defensive player. So if everything else
Yeah.
fails, he's good on the defensive end. But then once we enter the off season, by all means, let's try and move him. By all means, let's see what's out there. Like I was saying to you before this, if there's a guy in this upcoming draft that we like, let's trade for the first pick. Let's trade for
Yeah.
the first pick, whether that's straight up or first pick and something else. Uh,
Mhm.
I think we do have to move him if he continues to have this negative effect on the team.
Yeah. And it's really funny because looking back on it now, with so I remember, we made comments about, oh well, he doesn't have a 3-point shot. It's been a few years. He hasn't. It doesn't seem like he's worked on it. And he's taken one this season so far. Or he's made one this season,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. Um, the rebounds still a problem. His field goal percentages are dropping, but like we have these problems that have been here forever. It seems like since he's gotten here, you know. And we did gas him up in the sense like, oh, he's a great player, which he has the potential to be. But I'm wondering if that got to his head. But when we look back and we're like, oh well, the turnover is, we kind of turn our head because he's a great player. And then, oh well, the lack of a 3-point shot. Well, he doesn't need it right now. Like we've got the people to supplement him. Now it's getting to the point where it's like we can't ignore those things, and those things now make sense because we realize that um, he potentially might not be putting the work in. And now everything's coming to light of like, okay, well now the snowball's gotten a bit bigger, a bit more noticeable, and now we can see like, oh, well, all of these stats are dropping along with the constant problems of the turnovers and the 3-point shot.
yeah. And you're talking about like everybody's talking about how he could be good. There's
Yeah,
probably a lot of pressure on him.
yeah,
There's a lot of buzz about him. The atmosphere is not great surrounding him, but guess what? Especially in this town, that's what you're going to face. That's what you're
yeah,
going to face. Joel Embiid has taken that and put it on him to get better every season.
yeah.
This season that he's having right now, he could very well go and win MVP.
Uh-huh.
And for a big man to do that in this league, that's insane. But he has
Yeah.
a chance to win MVP this year. And he's got the same amount of buzz around him, the same
Yeah.
amount of critics that have been around him. But he
Hmm.
takes that and he improves based upon that. We
Yes.
just haven't seen Ben do the same.
Yeah. I think there might be another aspect to this as well because I think Joel has the personality of like I'm a star, like I'm the guy on the court. I'm gonna throw out 42 points. Like I am going to, like you said, put the team on my back. And there's a level of star quality. Like when you're good in a league, people are going to write about you, and people are going to say things about you, and people are going to attack you, and people are going to defend you, and everything in between. So there's to me, when you said that, it almost was like Ben might not be ready for that kind of role because pretty soon after he got here, we were like, this kid is going to be great. Like this guy has the potential to turn into somebody who was maybe better than LeBron James, you know, and then, um, and then he took it and ran with it, and now it's starting to bite him. And now, you face, so you've had the good side of the press, and now you're going to face the more negative side of the press. And, you know, some people can't take the heat. Some people don't have that mentality of, I am a star and I need to, I have confidence that what I'm doing is right. And even though all these haters are out there, I'm still going to keep, doing me. Now, he is doing him, but doing him is the problem. So, you know, it's an odd line to walk, I can imagine. But you know, obviously, it highlights some of the issues with this gameplay.
And the last things I really have on Ben is, it is difficult having all this pressure on you and
Mm-hmm.
trying to play in this city with how passionate this fan base is. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
really tough. That's why there's just a certain unique players once in a while that really excel in here.
Yeah.
You have Joel Embiid that really excelled here, Allen Iverson, Brian Dawkins, Chase Utley, all these players that really just like accepted it, gave everything they had, and I
Yeah.
don't think Ben's giving everything he has. And if he doesn't want this criticism, then it's time for him to move out of this team into a more forgiving city.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a test in the beginning. We test you, we push you to your limits. We might annoy the crap out of you, but at the end of the day, if you turn a new leaf and you get good, and we'll embrace you, and you will become a hero to us. So, yeah, I definitely think you hit the nail on the head with that. And just to touch on Joel again, you said he was throwing up MVP numbers. We just had the Celtics game last night, throw up 42 points. Is there any more that needs to be said? He's excelling.
Yeah, and even when he struggles, and this is the big improvement I've seen in his game this year, because he's always had some games that he'll just struggle in.
Mm-hmm.
But this year, even when he struggles, he still throws up at least 20, and he's
Yeah.
doing that. He might not be shooting the best, but he's gonna find ways to get to the free throw line.
Yeah.
And he's shooting, I think, like 85% from the line,
Mm-hmm.
which first off is really good. But then second of all, it's a big man shooting 85% from the line. It's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. So, he has put in the work. We clearly see that he's improved. And, he's going to be a dominant force in this league for a long time.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. Hopefully he doesn't take a route like Ben Simmonds does, just falls off at the end of the year or something. But speaking of potentially dominant forces, the Flyers have been doing pretty well. They are I didn't check the standings recently, but they should at least be the top or tied with the Capitals right now. And they had an interesting week. Since our last episode, they played the Penguins, which went about as expected. Nothing new changed from the first to the second game. The Penguins defense sucked. And so we just, beat them to death with offense, essentially. And then Buffalo happened. And this is rough. But the first game didn't go well. Buffalo came out hungry. A lot of people had the Flyers winning. The Flyers probably had the Flyers winning. They went in confident. Buffalo was not the team to kind of challenge us, and they did, and they blew us out of the water. Essentially a shutout, with the exception of a goal late in the game. It was hard to watch. But so there were two big takeaways from that. First, okay, maybe not two, as I think there might be more. But first one was that Couturier got checked, and he has some disease. It's unpronounceable, but essentially, he has an issue with the muscle tissue around his bone, I believe, or around his rib bone, and that is causing some. He'll be out for 2 weeks at least, so he's not coming back until the end of the month, which was rough. But the Flyers AV then responded with the correct decision of putting Morgan Frost right in his place. He didn't touch the lines. He didn't touch the team chemistry. He kept them where they needed to be and just threw Frost in there and was like, good luck. And Frost, for the most part, handled his own. That game was rough all around. In a game like that, and the atmosphere like that, where you're getting smacked around, it's hard to kind of go off and, prove yourself, So that happened. Another thing was Hart got pulled, which I don't know that I completely agree with. I mean, he did let in, I believe it was after 3 goals they pulled him. He did let in 3 goals, so I don't blame them for pulling him. But at the same time, I think defense takes a lot of that. I don't know that he necessarily should have gotten pulled, but the defense was rough that game. We couldn't get through the neutral zone. We couldn't take the puck away from them when they were in our zone. We couldn't set anything up in the offensive zone. Overall, it was a really rough game. The comment that comes to mind is they didn't look like they wanted to skate. Every time they would swing and go into the zone, they didn't have any speed. You need speed when you're coming at a defender and that defender is back skating. That's how you get around them. That's how you get things going. And they just couldn't do it. Now, the neutral zone game was good from the Sabres, but still, you should be able to get past that, especially with the hype that this team has been receiving. We should be able to handle that. But regardless, the next game went significantly better, and for a couple of reasons. First of all, we won. That helps. But we were able to overcome the neutral zone, which was a big thing. And we were able to get momentum going. And the first goal didn't come until like midway / later into the second period. So to me, that is also showing that, we're not just some team that if it doesn't go our way, we just quit. Playing a period and a half and having nothing happen is rough. It's not easy. And with the offensive power that we showed in the first 2 games, it was, it had to have been an adjustment to not be able to get that stuff done. So it showed we got grit. We were down. There were some goals that should have gone in for them. There were some goals that should have gone in for us, but we didn't think about those. We just kind of went through and kept going. We just kept going, and in the end, it paid off because we got 2 goals and then an empty netter in the end, and we stuck with it. And it was something really nice to see because I was afraid that we were faint of heart in the sense that if things didn't go our way initially, or they didn't go anywhere initially, then we would have gone down. But that wasn't the case. We came out on top. Unfortunately, like I said before, the Philly plague strikes again. Morgan Frost is out. He got checked, and I forget exactly what he has, but he'll be out for a little bit. And Myers is on a day-to-day basis with, I believe, another rib issue. So, and like I said before, the depth of this team is going to be tested. We've got 2 centers and a defenseman out. Now we have to find. Now we're probably really going to have to switch the lines around. Because Couturier was on our front line, and so was Frost. So realistically, we're still missing a center for a front line, and now we're missing a defenseman. So I'm excited for them to play the Bruins, and I hope that the depth that is one of like our staples of this year really comes out and really turns into an asset for us. Because if we can beat the Bruins, the number 1 projected team to win our division, with not our starting guys, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. But another thing that I forgot to mention is that the physicality in the second game went up immensely. And this is another thing. In the first game, we kind of lied down for them. They got aggressive, right in the beginning, Couturier goes out. I don't know why we just kind of let that happen. It seemed like, we didn't get emotional. We didn't start throwing them in the boards. I mean, obviously not throwing them, but we didn't start going hard at them in the boards. It was just kind of like, it goes along with that kind of didn't want to skate thing. Like the game was emotionless. It feels like there was no I don't want to say passion, but there was no physicality. One of the staples of hockey is that people get hurt and you throw people into the boards, and that didn't happen. So that was rough to watch. But they brought it back, and Giroux got into some scraps, and we started getting picky. We started picking fights with them and getting on their nerves. And I know Reinhardt was really mad because we kept harassing him. It was great. So that was a nice thing to see. And finally, the last point, the defense showed up the second game. Provorov was particularly good in the sense that he just threw his body on the line. I mean, my guy was standing in front of shot after shot after shot, and that's important because that definitely that helped Moose get his shutout. And the biggest thing for me is that shows commitment. He is not just going to lie down and let these guys shoot and get the puck anywhere close. The goal is to not have your goaltender do as much as possible. So, that was really nice from Provorov. And yeah, we struggled it out that second game. So going into the Bruins, I'm not going to lie, I kind of expect us to lose the first one. I think they're going to be a little bit overpowering, and with our, the difference from what our starting line should be, it needs to be a little bit too much. But I have a bold prediction in that I don't think we are going to lose 2 games in a row this season. I don't think it's going to happen. It happened last season. We hadn't lost 2 games in a row. I think since January. And at this point, we're looking at it's still going. We still haven't lost 2 games in a row. Back from January all up until March when everything got canceled because of COVID, and then they brought it back. We didn't lose 2 in a row. So, I think that trend will continue. I think regardless of what happens, the AV is going to pull us together, and yeah, I think if we're going to have any issues, it's going to be the first time we play a team. I think we're strategically smart. I think the chemistry and the emotion within the club is going to come out the second game. It might not come out the first like it did against Buffalo, but I think these 2 Buffalo games are a format going forward for what other games against harder teams are going to look like. I think that, we might not be as prepared for the first one, but come the second one, there is no excuse for us losing.
All right, good. So time for me to butt in here. I do have 3 points.
Okay.
So first, I'd like to disagree with you and go against you and say that they will lose 2 games in a row this season. They will. They're going to lose 2 games in a row. In fact, I think they're going to lose 3 games in a row at one point. We're just going to have to revisit that. So, second point, you're talking about the Provorov, I think it was, getting in front of shots. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, it's something you got to do, but it takes a lot of guts to do that. It takes a lot of guts to step in front of these things and put your body on the line. It's really nice to see. And then the third thing is, with Elliott coming in and putting up a shutout. It's really nice to have a backup goalie that can come in and do that.
Yes, sir.
And, I think it's good to kind of help Hart out a bit, if he does struggle. We can kind of protect him a bit right now because we do have another goalie that we can, more than likely rely on. And then other than that, I would like to, once again, I think I did this last week too, I'll do it this week. Would you like to revisit those rankings of the top 10 Philly athletes quite yet? With your Carter Hart at 1 and Joel Embiid at 2, I believe. Would you like to revisit that yet? Maybe. Would you like to go back to that and pick the right answer?
Not yet.
Not yet? I'm not saying that like Hart's having necessarily a bad, start. He's going to rebound from it. He's a great player and he's going to be here for a long time to come. That's why I had him, I believe, at number 2. But there's just no way you can deny Joel Embiid from the number 1 spot on this list right now.
No, I can't, but I'm going to because I can. I don't think we've seen enough from Hart yet. He's only been in 2.5 games, kind of. So, 2.5 games compared to, I don't know, probably like the 10 or 15 that the Sixers played already.
Yeah.
But I will not disagree that Joel Embiid is a phenomenal player and definitely deserves to be the first spot on the list. But I'm irrational, so I will put Carter Hart on the top of that list without remorse. But yeah. And another thing, well, on the Provorov point, there was a goal where he quite possibly saved the puck when he was down on a knee and he stuck his hand out, and that to me was just when you said, it takes guts and that kind of thing, it really does, because that's not a nice feeling. I've had it happen to me. It's not a good feeling, So, but yeah, the dedication that this squad has and the depth, like you said, with Moose being able to throw up a shutout as a backup goalie, that's great. So, also a tribute to the Flyers defense, but because they were much better with rebounds that game as well, but 100% deserved for Moose. And yeah, so finally we have the Phillies and JT Realmuto's contract, or not contract, but his home in Philadelphia is once again being threatened by a new better team, better in both skill level and threat
and
to
getting people.
contract. Yes.
I mean, to first address that, it does scare me when, other teams are mentioned in the hunt for JT, especially the Braves, because the Braves get everybody that comes into this division. They get absolutely every star player that comes into here, like free agent wise. I don't think they're going to go for him. I don't think they're going to get him. They've got D'Arnaud as their catcher right now. That's going to stay. That's going to stay. They're not going to do anything about it.
Okay.
I'm not worried about any other team. The Blue Jays were the last one to be worried about. They've spent a good amount of their money. They're not going to go after JT. I believe that we will be re-signing JT in a week or two. Now, the other point with JT I'd like to get to now, we were not quite as fortunate with this JT news as we were today with the Eagles coaching news, because it was practically as we finished up last week. The rumor was that JT has officially been offered a 5-year, around $100 million contract, which, I have to say it, but I go back a couple weeks, I said that exactly. I said that we would offer him 5-year, 100 mil, 20 a year, and he would accept that. I think our offer's been bumped at this point to closer to 110.
Okay.
We're going to get him. We're going to get him. And when we do sign it, I'm going to be a very happy person. It's going to be a happy podcast. It's a great stride going forward to be able to re-sign a guy like that. It keeps faith in this team. It keeps Bryce Harper happy. Keeps him into it, and that's big. Keeping him into it.
Yeah.
And we were able to. And this offseason, while some of the moves were kind of like low key, we have made smaller moves on the cheaper side that are more low risk, high reward. Archie Bradley, like we went over last year, he's a solid reliever. I don't know if he's going to have success here, but I already like what I'm seeing from him on social media and such. 6 mil, that's not bad. That's not bad for the potential that he has.
Yeah.
And losing Adam Morgan hurts, and we've gone over that. But we've signed Alvarado and a couple people. We're making these small budget moves that could pan out. Re-signing JT is great. We're going to have a shortstop issue where, are we going to be able to re-sign Didi? Or are we going to run with Gene at shortstop and Scott at a second, which I'd be perfectly fine with. In fact, I'd rather that. I mean, I'd rather Didi over Gene, but that's just not going to happen contract-wise. So, I mean, honestly, I'm happy with what the Phillies are doing. I think they're heading in the right direction. I think we're going to get JT any week now. Spring training's not too far away at this point. I think it's looking good. It's looking good.
Well, that's good. It's nice to have some good news over in Philly, especially on the Phillies side of things, because
we've been suffering for too long. Too long.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, we'll be back next week with more Flyers coverage, both Bruins games, more Eagles, not more Eagles, but more Sixers coverage.
Well, we will have an official Eagles hire by then, probably.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have an official Eagles hire and an official signing of JT. So
Be a good week.
happy podcast. Yeah. So until then, goodbye, everybody.